Hi everyone, it's Sailor Mimzy. Today's video I'm going to be going over what I think the pros and cons are between the Hobonichi Techo Cousin and the Midori Traveler's Notebook insert number 002. These are just my opinions. I am going off of experience and what I find I like and don't like between each notebook. This was actually asked by username Scrap Owl AIM. I think it's pronounced AIM, but it's spelled SCRAP_OWL_AME. I'll make sure it appears on the screen because I don't know how to pronounce the last part. But yeah, so she asked what I thought my pros and cons were with the Hobonichi and the Midori insert. As most of you probably know, I've been using the Midori insert 002 for a little while now, and I've been using the Hobonichi since the beginning of March. Well, I guess right before March. Yeah, because I was playing around with it for a while. So anyways, I'll just get right into it. Like I said, these are just my opinions and how I feel about each one when it comes to me using them. So first off, I will just go with the Traveler's Notebook Insert 002. I wrote notes so that I wouldn't, because I know I wouldn't be able to remember all of this. We'll start off with the pros of both notebooks. So here is a used 002 insert, and here is a used Hobonichi almost in a month and a half in. So Hobonichi is an A5 size. It comes in a smaller size, but I decided to go with this one for journaling. And the Midori 002, well, pretty much all the Midori inserts, unless you get the passport size, for just over 4 inches by 8 1/4. But yeah, both are pretty good sizes. Also, for both of them, the paper handles gluing things down really well. So you see lots of pasting going on in here. So yeah, I used glue stick and washi and those adhesive roly things. I don't know what it's called. And yeah, so this one, same thing. I use washi and glue stick and those roly adhesive things. And I've had no problems with either notebook so far. Both of them have very different paper, but both can handle a lot. So let's go back to just the Midori. Here's an unused one. So yeah, the 002 is the graph paper, and it's thicker. I think it's thicker than computer paper, but it's not like cardstock or anything. It's really good paper. I do a lot of watercolor, and I use a lot of water when I watercolor, and this paper holds up so well. I've had no problems with any watercolor. Let's see if I could show you some examples. Okay, here's an example. So this is heavy watercolor, like layers upon layers of watercolor. And so the other side, no problem. Like there's no bleed through, and the ink on the paint on the other side, it's okay. It didn't get disturbed by the water on the other side. There have been some times where I painted on one side and didn't pay attention, and the other side would get blurred or distorted because of the amount of water I use on the other side, but it's never so bad that, you know, it made me want to stop using this type of notebook. Here's another one. So that's layers and layers of paint. And then the other side you see is clear. So I love that about these inserts. There are so many different varieties available in the Traveler's Notebook inserts, but I can only speak for the 002 and the 013. I would like to try other inserts, but that's a totally different subject. I'm getting off course here. So the 002, I guess pretty much all their notebooks except for like the planner ones maybe, or the dated ones. But the 002 is really versatile. My husband has been using the 002 as a bullet journal. For him, his favorite thing about it is, besides the graph paper, he likes the size of the notebook. I really like the grid size of the 002. My writing is scrunched up usually, like scrunched up chicken scratches, but with the 002, the grid is bigger, and so it forces me to write a little bit bigger, which makes my writing a little more clear and easier to read. So even though the paper in the 002 seems just like ordinary graph paper, watercolor in the 002 dries fast. I know there's other factors to consider, like, you know, the humidity and the temperature and where you live. The paint dries fast, so I could paint something over in the bottom corner, and while that's drying, I could go over here and paint something. By the time I'm done painting here, I could pretty much go back and finish painting at the bottom. I feel like it dries faster. Compared to the Hobonichi, for sure it dries faster. Or the Tomo River paper, I should say. So with the Traveler's Notebook insert, the 002, you can do 1 month of journaling. It fits nicely inside of this. I do a two page per day spread. So here's 1 day, the next day, and yeah, so this is 1 month. So it also makes it easy to archive. So you could put them all on a shelf, like in a row, or you could tie them in a bundle with twine or something and put it away in a chest or however you store your journals. Any journal that I complete, I leave it on specific shelves in my room here, and when the year is over, then I gather them up. I usually tie them with string or twine or whatever, and then I put them away. I have containers and boxes that are full of like sketchbooks and notebooks, and that's where these would go at the end of the year. And of course, there are lots of covers available online through the Traveler's Notebook website or on Etsy. It's even possible to do your own cover, like make a simple cover yourself. It doesn't require a lot to do a DIY cover for these notebooks. And this part was kind of difficult because I was trying to be fair and think of a con for the 002, but the only con that I could think of, I don't know, I guess you can kind of count it as a pro. But starting a new notebook every month, it's bittersweet for me. So it's more of like a half pro, half con. Getting to the end of a 002 is sad, but then you get to start a new one. But then you're gonna miss like using this old one and its crinkly pages and the sounds it makes. But yeah, that would be the only con that I could think of. So that's for the Midori, or the Traveler's Notebook insert. And next we will move on to the Hobonichi. I'm sure you've all heard about how amazing this paper is, the Tomo River paper. So everyone that's used it will probably all tell you the same thing. It's awesome. And it's all true. The paper is very lightweight and it could take a lot. A day with lots of paint. It also makes that crinkly sound. I just love that sound. Okay, so this is one of my recent days. This is a lot of paint, like layers of watercolor. So while I was talking about the 002 insert, I mentioned that Tomo River paper, it takes a little bit longer for the paint to dry compared to the 002. That would be one of my cons, but it's not a huge deal. So like, you know, while you're painting over here, you could write over on the other side. So it's not a huge deal, but yeah, I'd say that was a con. So yeah, it could handle markers and everything. So here this is paint and marker. And if you look on the other side, well, besides this thing covering it, you can't, there's like no bleed through or anything. Hardly any shadowing. So this was watercolor and marker, lots of it. And if you go to the other side, this is probably the worst. It's not even that bad. So right there, the red started to show through a bit. That would be the worst I've seen in this. And like I said, it's not even that bad. Another thing about this paper is it's so smooth to write on. I don't use a fountain pen or anything, like I don't have a fountain pen, but my main pen that I use in writing is a gel pen. And it just feels so smooth and nice writing on this paper. So at the end of, I think it's every Hobonichi notebook, there's a section of just plain graph paper that looks like this. So I cut out the section that was in in this notebook, and I gave it to my husband because he bought a fountain pen recently, and now he's hooked on Tomo River paper. So it's super smooth and good for writing, especially if you have a fountain pen. Okay, another pro about the Hobonichi. Since the paper is super thin, so here's the unused one, July to December. Since the paper is super thin, more of it fits in a notebook and it takes up less space. So this is 6 months in this one notebook, and it's really thin, and if I get my 002 insert, you can see, well, also because I pack my journals with a lot of stuff, so I guess we can compare it with this for now, but I don't know how much thicker this is gonna get. I have about 2.5 months left to go in this one, so I think it'll just get just a little bit thicker. I don't think not much, but this is a big difference. Well, to me that's not a huge deal, like if this gets too thick or if the 002 inserts get too thick. Yeah, so the binding in these notebooks is really good and lays flat. Everybody has seen that. The binding on the 002 insert is just staples, but I've never ever had a problem with any of these exploding and falling apart on me. So yeah, if space and storage is an issue for you, then this would be a good notebook to go with. Oh, I forget how much I paid for these, but you get 12 months plus, like, you know, extras. There's like the graph paper and more pages and stuff in here. I forget how much it was. It was maybe $40 or $50. I seriously don't remember. I should have double checked. But at the store that is in my city here where I buy the 002s, these are, I believe, $6 each. So in the long run, it would be cheaper to go with this route. So also for the Hobonichi, there are lots of covers online on their website. And also if you do a search on Etsy, you'll find some. And I'm pretty sure you could make a simple cover for it. For me, I have 2 of these. I found this at Walmart a long time ago, and it was just holding like a simple A5 blank coil notebook, and this fits inside here nicely. It was, I think, $6 or $7 for this cover. It was pretty good. But yeah, so I use this to, especially if I'm taking my notebook somewhere, I bring this along and it actually keeps it protected pretty well. If you look at the cover, I forgot to use like this cover a couple of times, and if you look closely, there's marks and yucky dirt and stuff on there. So depending on what you order, you can get a year in 1 notebook or a year in 2 notebooks, like the ones that I have here. But either way, both would be easy to archive. So it's just either the 1 notebook or the 2 notebooks for the year. So some of the cons that I have about the Hobonichi are, well, the pages are all pre-dated, and it's in a format that I don't really like, but that could also be because I'm used to using like my calendar and my date stamps like this. It could be that I'm used to seeing the calendar, I don't know. And the other thing is, since it technically is a planner, there are a lot of extras in this notebook, and it bugs me because I don't take advantage of it. So there's all these different things in here, and also just the way the page format is. It's really nice for a planner, but I don't use it as a planner, and that bugs me just because I feel like it has so much potential. So I use the monthly view, which is, okay, so there's calendars here. Oh, maybe I should get my used one actually. Yeah, there's these calendars. I do use this. This has current year, last year, and next year. There is a section that has like a year at a glance. So it looks like that, and then You just write down, you can put important dates and anniversaries. I use that. And there is, of course, the monthly view. And that's this. And I love just how there's check boxes there for, like, you know, any monthly tasks that need to be done. And I love that it's graph paper. And Monday is here. That actually bugs me that it starts on a Monday instead of Sunday, because that's how my week is. Like, my weeks at work start on Sundays. So I use the monthly as you've seen when I did the flip through last week. I do some drawing and doodles in the monthly view. So I do like a doodle a day. And since I started this in March, I have January and February blank. And for that, I used those months kind of as you know, like testing pages for testing out inks and pens and new markers, and also just to stick different bits of paper that I find that don't fit on my page for the day, like, because there's not a lot of room for sticking things on a page. So yeah, overflow gets put in the January, February blank pages. The other con that I have about this is the grid on here is just a little bit smaller than the 002. Yeah, you can't even, let's open it up to a blank page. Hopefully you can see. So the 002 has a grid that's a little bit bigger. So in the Hobonichi, my writing is smaller and it is a little bit messier. So I think it would help if I had a thinner or a finer point pen to make it easier to read my writing. Like, I know I don't have to write in the lines, but that's what I use, and I can't go out of the lines when I'm writing lots of writing. And the other con that I can think of is there might be times where you can see some shadowing. I'm trying to find an instance where there have been a couple of times where I did notice shadowing, but it hasn't been that distracting. So if you look up at the top here, you can see some shadowing from the previous day, the lettering. Oh, it was from a stamp actually. So the ink shadowed onto the next day. You can hardly see it. And yeah, I thought it was gonna really bug me, but I don't see anything that bad. And if it's really bad, then you can always cover it up with a sticker or something like paper or something to just hide it. And the pages inside of the Hobonichi are a little bit floppier compared to the 002, but not a huge deal at all. So one of the other cons that I have for the Hobonichi is the paper takes a little bit longer to absorb the ink that I use, like the gel pen. So there have been pretty much almost every day, I think, there's like a smudge or two. Yeah, it's not horrible, but every day I smudge while I'm writing because I won't be paying attention. You'd think I'd be used to it by now, but obviously not. So that was making it a little bit difficult for me to transition from the 002 to the Hobonichi. And also the watercolor reacts a little bit differently too. It takes a little bit longer to dry, and the way it does dry, it looks a little bit different, the way the paper reacts, but it's not a bad thing. So when it comes down to it, I honestly love both of these notebooks. They're both great for journaling, but if I had to choose just one as a daily journal, like with the drawing and the tapes and writing, I would be going with the 002 insert. It could be because it's super versatile, or also because the way the Hobonichi is, like the format of it, I feel like I'm not using it to its full potential. I've been having a hard time ignoring the setup or like the format of the Hobonichi page. So there's days where, like when I first started journaling in this, I wasn't sure Like, I felt weird covering this up. I can't read it, but it just felt weird covering up. So there's some days where I do cover it, and there's other days where I don't go over the line. So here I go up to the line. This day I covered it up, and it feels weird that I'm not using this as a planner. Like, my brain isn't letting me get over it, and that's bugging me. I should just get over it. Maybe if I would have gotten a notebook with just Tomo River paper, grid Tomo River paper, with no dates or anything else on it, then maybe this might have been a different video. But I think this has helped me decide. Next year I'm gonna go with the Hobonichi Techo, the A6 size. I'm gonna be going with that as a planner. And for my daily journaling, I'll go back to using the 002 because I love it so much. I think just because the fact that it's blank, probably it makes it easier for me to journal in. So that's the video I have for you guys this week. Hopefully you enjoyed it and it made sense. Like I said, these are all my opinions and just my thoughts and opinions on what I've encountered so far while using these notebooks. Both are super great. I love them both. If you guys have any questions, comments, or anything like that, just leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.